If you like this video, click like. If you want to continue to follow our adventure, hit subscribe. Your support would be greatly appreciated.
Hello, Lost on the Road subscribers and followers. Well, as you can see, I am not where I'm normally at. Usually I'm sitting outside my camper, or better known as our home, our little pop-up camper. Today I am in my vehicle, which is our Colorado, as everybody knows. And I'm sitting outside a hospital. Now, I made a video a few days ago, and I'll put the link right here somewhere. I'm all disorientated. I don't know where the link is going to be. That discussed our family emergency. We had a family emergency where we had to run from Florida to St. Louis, Missouri, to deal with this family emergency. We're going to be here 2 weeks. And I wanted to talk to you about having to deal with emergencies as a nomad. Things are going to happen. And we were completely unprepared for this. I guess, I don't know why we never thought about it, but this was interesting. You know, we got a phone call a few weeks ago saying that the family member was sick and that they may need help. And we said, well, you know, we could help out. And then all of a sudden, that help was called in. You know, that favor was called in. And the first thing is, being a nomad made it really easy for us to just go. We had a stick and brick home in Florida, and we were told that we got to come to St. Louis. Obviously, you know, you got your job you got to worry about. You got to secure the house. You got to get plane tickets or drive, you know, maybe a babysitter for the dog or cat. You know, all those little things that you have to start preparing for. Whereas, as a nomad, we got the call, I think at, boy, what was it, 7 o'clock at night? I think it was around 7 o'clock that night. We got the call that we needed to be up here by, let's see, that was Friday, and we needed to be up here by Monday. So, Saturday, we packed up. We were out of there by 11 o'clock, and by Sunday, by 2 o'clock. So, a little over 24 hours, we were in St. Louis setting up our camper. And so by Monday, we were fresh, ready to go, hit the road to you know, start taking care of the family member. So that was a real positive thing, that, you know, we were able to just be flexible and go, go, go. And so as a nomad, if you're ever called for a family emergency, keep that in mind, that, you know, you're probably going to be the go-to person. And if you're like us, of course, you're going to help. The next thing that I want to talk about is, and I have talked about this religiously, is about having an emergency fund where you can automatically just pick up and go, or fix your vehicle, or you know, fix your camper, or whatever. But that's a good lesson to have just in general in life, to have an emergency fund. And I suppose that's all up to the individual, how much they needed. But what made it so handy for us was we had the emergency fund where we didn't have to worry about how we were going to get back up to Missouri. We had enough money that we could just say, okay, well, we're going to go. And we'll deal with how we're going to rebuild our emergency fund later. So that's why an emergency fund is so important, is when emergencies actually arise. And we're definitely calling this an emergency. So as a nomad, and I've said this repeatedly, be debt-free and have a savings and have an emergency fund. I think that's critical to being a nomad. Critical. Or a full-time RVer, or whatever it is you want to be. The other thing that we were completely not ready for was the weather. Now, as most of you know, we've been trying to get to Florida. Well, let me explain this. We follow the weather, and I actually have a video about that where we follow the weather. So all summer, we've been in the cool climate of West Virginia in the Smoky Mountains. Well, as things started getting too cold, you know, the day we left West Virginia, it was 56 degrees. So we started heading south. Went to South Carolina, and then we finally made our winter hibernation area of Florida. We finally made it. And we were having a great time. It was 90 degrees. The day we arrived, the evening we arrived, it was gotten down to 39 degrees. Now, that was a far cry from 90, or even, I don't know what the nighttime temperatures were in Florida, but let's just say they were 70. I mean, it was chilly. So, you know, we had to have propane. Well, here's the thing. We parked at a paid campsite. And the reason we did that, well, one of the reasons that it turned out, one of the reasons we did it was just easy. We didn't have to go looking for internet and all this other stuff. So it was just easy. Let's go to a paid campsite until we can figure out something else. Well, once we got there, we realized that we didn't have to run the generator because we had electric, which saved us 5 hours a day. Those 5 hours we could use towards helping the family member. But we were also spending on propane because that's the only type of gas we had. And remember, we're staying in free national forest, so they didn't have electric. So all we have is a propane heater. And it took us 3 days to realize, why not get a little ceramic heater, electric ceramic heater, to warm the camper. Well, turned out that wasn't a good idea because our generator only allows us to pull 200 watts, which the camper, all the electrical system in the camper, could handle just fine. But when we plugged in the shore power and we had unlimited power, basically, we didn't have anything controlling us, we turned on that heater that we just bought, the refrigerator kicked on, and pop. Well, I think if we had a refrigerator and a computer and a couple other things, it doesn't matter what we had on it, but the breaker snapped on us. So, you know, I had to get creative on how I was going to run all this electric stuff because we're paying for electric. We didn't want to have to pay for electric and propane. So, you know, all these things we were not ready for. So think about that. Think about the weather. The weather is a big deal. Being in a pop-up camper. That's why we went south, was so we didn't have to endure this winter. And it's been quite frigid being in a camper, having to take showers. That's another thing you got to think about. You know, we were taking showers. But anyway, recognize, think about this. What if this would have happened in December and we were down to 19 degrees? You know, so even though we were prepared for winter by going to Florida, all of a sudden now we're thrown back kind of in this really chilly thing. And we weren't prepared. So I'm just putting this out to you that you got to think about all aspects of this adventure. So anyway, being prepared for these emergencies, I don't know how easy it would be to think outside the box that far to say, well, what if there's a family emergency and we have to run back to Missouri in the wintertime? You know, who would have thought that would have happened? I just didn't think about it. So I'm just throwing out another piece of information for you that might give you some insight on what you need to be ready for when you're a nomad. So anyway, I hope that helps. And thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Click like if you like the video.